Do you want to erode trust quickly? Do you want to really damage your organisation, your business? Of course you don't. Of course you don't. But a lot of leaders don't realise they're doing it through being unpredictable. No consistency in terms of how they turn up, their communication. Now, believe it or not, again, military isn't just a fine example of leadership, far from it. There are lots of examples where it went horribly wrong. And I can remember, experiencing levels of inconsistency, or levels of really appalling communication. And there used to be a phrase that we harboured in the military, and it was kind of like, treat them like mushrooms. Feed them on shit and keep them in the dark. Now, when you look at that, it's not something you would noticeably want to go and do. You want to make sure that you're really focusing on how you can engage your team, create predictability, help with your, the productivity of the team and how you're moving forward. But you can't do that if you're unpredictable. Now, you might not even realise that you're being unpredictable right now, and that's one of the challenges. So there's a quite a nice definition of communication, and this is always something that I check myself by. I often find myself in a place where I just need to double check that I'm making sense. That when I'm talking to somebody, I ask them, we often use the phrase, does that make sense? Now, it's not a cliche phrase and thrown away. It's actually it's a very calculated phrase, because if you look at someone in a coaching session, a leader that you're working with, and they look at you a little bit blankly and say, well, kind of like, no, it doesn't, then you've got to go back and make some sense. So let's go to that definition. Communication is the response that you get. Think about that for a moment. The communication is the response you get. That could be a verbal response. It could be a visible response. It could be the response you get when they go away and completely muck up what direction you've just given them because you didn't communicate it clearly enough. So when we start to look at this and looking at, actually getting predictable, the foundation for being really predictable, outside of, setting your time and default diaries and all that type of jazz, the real thing is how you're able to communicate effectively. So people understand and know where you're coming from. It makes sense. That's the first step. You know that if you're going to have a conversation, you're going to walk away with clarity, knowing what you need to do, where you need to be, what you've got as resources to get done, what you need to get done, whatever that case may be. But communication is the response you get. Think about that, and think about being slightly more predictable in terms of your communication within your organisation. I'd love to hear your comments, by the way. Oh, and can I ask another thing as well? If you're enjoying and you're finding some value from my musings, just like and share, if you don't mind. That would be incredibly valuable. My aim as a high performance coach is to get this message out there. And so, actually, I'm a firm believer of testing what we do. So everyone's rattling on about how good TikTok is. So I figured, and Instagram and using video and reels. So I figured, well, let's go out there and do this myself. So if this is valuable to you and you're clicking that like button, click the subscribe button as well. That'd be really appreciated. Hope that's clear. Have a great day.